Thank you for the introduction. I prefer the wolf introduction, the fox introduction. So I'm going to spend the next 20 minutes or so to share my experience in the supply chain, in the apparel supply chain, how TAL has evolved in that particular supply chain, and our experience with other evolutions in the same industries. Let's see whether this works. So here we go. So I guess back in the good old days, garment manufacturers buy some sewing machines and just sew, very low barrier of entry. And currently still a lot of garment shops are like that. And to survive in this industry, we have to go way beyond that, from a monkey, ape, to hopefully a human at the end. And very early on this morning, there was mention about how people can differentiate themselves and be successful in the market, so battle against commoditizations. TAL makes a lot of garments, in particular dress shirts. So dress shirt, one of the biggest commodity that most of the people here wears. And we try to add functions to the product to differentiate itself from others. But we also hear that product differentiate itself is not enough, and people go into offering different types of services. Even as a manufacturer, we offer different types of services. And then the branding folks would also try to offer something called experiences or interactions with consumers and everyone in this room. So in different parts of the supply chain, this is a simple apparel supply chain. You have designs on the left and purchasing of raw material. It gets assembled, stored in the DC somewhere in the world, and then distributed to sales on the right-hand side. And every player tries to find its niche in that market, whether you're a manufacturer or whether you're a brand player or whether you're a textile mill. And at the same time, we also noticed a trend of suppliers consolidation happening, as well as brand consolidations. And of course, the idea is once you consolidate, you have the economy of scale, you get very specialized in what you do in your particular industry, in your particular niche. But at the same time, people would like to wear different things and have different experiences. So even though you consolidate suppliers or you consolidate brands, we still need to deliver diverse experiences. And no greater brand builders than these 10 companies seen on this slide. Most of your daily lives are influenced by them. Whether you brush your teeth this morning, it's from one of them. Whether you ate a Frito chips or not, or another brand of crispy snack, it's from one of these brand players. And these 10 brand players have consolidated, have in a very powerful way master the way consumer experiences consumer stuff. And of course, I like to draw the same for fashion, so I tried a little bit. Successful only at the brand side, and being the French chambers, I have to show you this. So in the luxury world, these three conglomerates, LVMH, Richemont, and Kering, controls about, let me add that up together, 50 billion euros of our luxury experience. So some of the brands here you all recognize, and some of the experiences some of us really aspire to be part of it as well. So the same question we'd like to ask is what's happening on the supply chain side, upstream supply chain? Unfortunately, I cannot draw one for apparel. One day I'm going to draw it up for you. But at the very least, I can borrow the example from electronics. So notebook computers. Most of the notebook computers on your desk is made by 3 companies in the world. And the top one, maybe some of you know, maybe not. It's a Taiwanese company called Quanta. So whether it's Lenovo, Sony, Toshiba, HP, Dell, or even Apple, their notebooks are made one way or another by Quanta. And they are a Taiwanese company, started in 1998, started as an OEM, but very much into ODM. So all these computers are designed by them. And by 2014, the latest figure is the revenue is about $26 billion US dollars. So when I think about OEM in the electronic industry, that's the first thing I think about is the Quanta. So I looked it up. What is their most recent achievement? Is actually they actually went from ODM and all the way to be you could say OBM, but basically bypassing these brands here and go direct to the customers. And in an area that you may not think of, and these are cloud-based servers. So just imagine all the growth in Facebook, Amazon, Google, all the machines, the servers that power these social media companies. Quanta makes 1 out of 7 of them in 2013. So in 2014, they may have gained or other competitors have gone in as well. So you could see not only has brand consolidated by being owned by one group, but managing the experience very well. So you actually see different brands in the marketplace, but they're actually owned and operated by big conglomerates. On the supply side, you also see OEM manufacturers such as Quanta that have very specialized the expertise in manufacturing computers, notebooks, all the way to customizing servers just for Facebook and just for Google. So one of the questions that I guess going to ask again later in the conference is whether supplier would be your competitors. Here's another prompt for you to ask that question again. So supplier have grown in scale and in particular in capabilities, and basically trying to find a business where values are still being created and valued by someone in the supply chain. From an OEM to an ODM, some of them has gone to be brand owners. And of course, being big, you get economy of scales. And being big, you also get synergies from being, I think Professor Case mentioned, being very much connected in the industry about what's happening. And in many ways, suppliers now are actually leading changes in the industry as well. And sometimes plays a different role than the word supplier. So that's why the word supplier sometimes is now in quotes, where they are very significant partners in the way we do business. And this is where TL comes in. So I'm just going to introduce a little bit about who is TL. Being an OEM manufacturer, like Quanta or something, it's not very well known what we do. But these are just a few simple statistics. So since 1983, we have manufactured over 1 billion garments. Currently, we employ 25,000 employees, 56 million garments annually. And dress shirt is being one of our largest category. 1 in 6 dress shirt sold in the US, we estimate, is made by us. So we pride ourselves in not just being a manufacturer, but a manufacturer that innovates. So we sort of coined the phrase innofacturer. These are some of the products that we make. On the top side, it's the formal stuff, dress shirts, tailor suits, some formal lady blouses as well. On the bottom, casual stuff, including casual shirts and khakis. These are some of the brands that we make for. Brooks Brothers. So it covers both department store, so we do private label for department store, JCPenney, Nordstrom's, but we also do products for brands like Brooks Brothers and Burberry and J. Crew. And in our journey to differentiate ourselves from others, one particular area that we found a niche in is the way we manage goods in the supply chain. So this is a traditional apparel supply chain. Takes 12 months from design on the left and to something being sold on the right. And a typical graph of what order looks like up the supply chain is that on the right-hand side, it's a relatively stable demand. For example, dress shirt, white and blue dress shirt, relatively stable. But if you look up the supply chain, as every party gets involved, they put in their own little spices, own little bit of buffer, and then at the end of the day, orders getting placed to, for example, fabric mill actually fluctuates a lot, but when in fact the demand on the right is relatively stable. What we found is that for a lot of products, we managed to control the inventory by not only eliminating some stock in the middle. Let me just go back. So in a typical supply chain, there's a warehouse in the US that stores all the garments. We find that for very stable items, we can actually bypass that particular warehouse by manufacturing in Asia, shipping the goods by sea, and maybe sometimes by air, but no need to store any particular inventory in the US warehouse. It gets cross-dock and directly to the stores on the right here. And all this is managed by our customer, retailers or brands, being able to share information on the shop floor, on the sales shop floor. For example, sales and inventory information on the right. And we will manage the whole supply chain for them in terms of whether we stock fabric here in our factory so that we can respond to certain surges in demand. And at the end, what we found is that instead of being pushing, because you're like 12 months out and pushing really what you think the market needs, we are reading the demand from the market and really trying to make it just in time. And the most interesting thing is after such a program is managed, where the information visibility of what's being sold is passed to a manufacturer, and the manufacturer has a clear visibility of where all the stocks are, including the stocks on the ship in transit, we actually managed to improve the stability of the order. So that the two advantages of having a stable order demand. One is for the supplier, because it means your peaks and valley management in the factory is better. But the other more important benefit is that whenever you have fluctuations in the demand, such as this on the left, sometimes you pre-produce too much. Sometimes you produce too much that at the end, it has nowhere to go, right? The goods are produced, so it has to go down the supply chain. It either gets marked down in the US, in the consumer marketplace, or it gets disappeared. So somewhere along the line, any inefficiency, any fluctuation here actually is wasted amount of dollars spent on manufacturing a shirt. But when information visibility is across and we manage to achieve certain goals, this is a much more stable system. And we manage this whole thing by working very closely with our partners, by monitoring the forecasts, looking at the sales, and we execute very clearly on two very important measurements. One is stock availability at the store, not at the warehouse. There may be some targets for the warehouse, but most important is stock availability at the store. And at the same time, inventory turn or sell-through at the stores. So you don't want to be 100% in stock, but with a tons of inventory. So the art of balancing these two measurements is what we do. And this type of collaboration typically gives you a lot of benefits, and these are some figures from an IBM research. And the more collaboration you do, you expect to see improvements in, for example, forecast error improvement, inventory reduction, inventory turn, as well as service level improvement of 5 to 10%. For us, this is our own experience. We've been doing this for 20 years. And not only do we improve lead time by 50%, but we typically see in-stock improvement of 8%, and also inventory improvement of 30%. Now, the interesting thing, I've thrown a lot of figures out, but one thing to think about is that I managed to improve in-stock, but with less inventory. So this is what I call where the magic happens, is You improve in stock. It's not just by chucking it, giving it more stock, but actually placing the right amount of SKU on the shop floor. And some people call it better quality of inventory. And this is where the art is, art/science is. It's not just by pulling the pendulum by saying, I'm going to improve in stock by just giving it a lot of inventory, but giving it the right inventory at the right time. And all this actually turns into financial numbers as well. So those in-stock, 8% improvement in in-stock actually, of course, gives you better sales opportunity. 30% reduction in inventory gives you a lower running cost. And at the same time, possibly lower markdown at the end of the season. So you have the right inventory and not have to mark down a lot. So in terms of net improvement, you get an improvement in profit. But the financial benefit is actually another layer deeper, is that to do all that, you actually use less working capital because you don't overproduce, you have less inventory, but you get more sales. And at the same time, you don't tie up your warehouse or your stores with unnecessary inventory. So if you're a CFO and you're really trying to analyze this, apart from the top line improvement on the top, if you look at the amount of investment you put into running this business, which is the bottom side, the assets, if you combine the two together, whether you do it on some type of return on invested capital or enterprise value measurements, you actually run your business much more efficiently as well. So that's sort of the tier experience in finding a niche in the apparel market, in the supply chain, where collaboration is very important. So all these supply chain measurement tricks cannot happen overnight because, for example, for a brand and retailer to hand over their point of sales data to a manufacturer and be able to trust what we propose to them to order takes some time of building trust. And going forward, 3D printing, mobility, omni-channel, consumer buy from different channels at the same time, I can only see more opportunities for collaborating with suppliers where they offer values in managing the whole supply chain. Another area that I see coming where supply on its own cannot do it, brand and retailer on their own also cannot do it, where we need to join hands is in the area of sustainability. And all of these value creation, I think we now has evolved to a stage where improving one own organization is not enough, where a close partnership and collaboration is important. Sustainability is particularly important, not only because it's expected by the consumer. Whether they pay for it is another thing, but it's expected by the consumer one way or another. But to really make a change for sustainability, it requires similar systemic effort across the whole supply chain, whether you're a supplier, whether you're a mill, or whether you're a brand, that you have to work together. Because sustainability is not just about improving the facilities, but also about improving the product that we make. So if the brand designs a product with tons of packaging and then air freight it every time, that doesn't really help sustainability. But if you work together with the supplier to manage the supply chain, as well as designing better packaging and the way we ship the product across to the markets, it's where I believe new values will be created. So I think that's almost the end of my slide. It's about this evolution from being something on the left to a man on the right, but really about brands and retailers together with suppliers collaborating with shared goals and look for new values, value creation. Thank you.